This is wide receiver Jeremy Curley of the New York Jets, and you're listening to the Shorts Sports Show.
What is going on, guys? It is the Short Sports Show. I am your host, Daniel Short. Today is Friday, October 9th, 2015, and it is a rainy day here in Short Studios in San Marcos, Texas. Hopefully it gets a little bit better. You know, not too much rain. I mean, I wouldn't mind some rain, though. It'd be nice. These allergies are ridiculous in Central Texas. Oh man, it is a struggle every day waking up in the morning. It's I don't know. It's not like it's a killer. It's not ideal. It's not the greatest to have to deal with when you wake up and you cannot breathe. It's just from your throat to your head. There's just nothing. There's nothing. So that kind of sucks. But hopefully we get a little bit of rain, but not during the show. I don't need any problems during my show. I don't want any problems. That's all I'm asking. But anyways, we got a good show for you guys. A great show for you guys today. Going to talk some college football news as well as get just my little input on some things. Now, real quick before we start the show, again, you can follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. So a report came out. As most of you guys know, I am a TCU fan. If you're brand new to the show, welcome. I'm a TCU fan, but I'm not biased. I try not to be. Anyways, so there's a report that came out, I guess yesterday, that said that there was at Baylor Stadium, there's the RG3 statue, right? And it was vandalized with purple paint. For me, I would think as a TCU fan, and of course for purple paint, they're all assuming it is a TCU fan that went ahead and did this, which most likely that's a good possibility that it was a TCU fan that did it. But you never know. My whole thing is, I don't care if that happened. Of course, it's a rivalry. I'm pretty sure Baylor would do something, even if we didn't do anything. I'm pretty sure Baylor is now going to think of something to do. The whole point of it, though, is why so early? This game will not be played until Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Why so early? Why now? I mean, Baylor's on the road to go take Kansas, and everybody please pray for Kansas. That needs to be a hashtag in itself right there. We can start it right now. Hashtag pray for Kansas, because it is going to be an absolute storm when Baylor goes down there and does some things that are questionable in college football, because it's going to be bad. It's going to be very bad for Kansas. I think as a TCU fan, I would have done it that week of the game. Because anything can happen from now till then for both teams. I don't understand why a TCU fan would do it so early. Now, I'm not ruling out the possibility that it could have been just another Baylor fan that did it on purpose to make it look like it was TCU to have something going on. I don't know. It'd be kind of dumb for a Baylor fan to do it to their own selves, but it is Baylor. Who knows? It can also be just a random UT fan that just said, "Hey, we got nothing going, so let's just go screw with everybody else." I don't know. That's what I'm thinking from all this. I just think it's stupid. We spent too much time on that. Anyways, let's all go ahead and move on. We'll talk about some college football news first, and then we will move on with our picks. Game preparation, people. I actually have my picks here on paper. I do it old school because me and my dad. Again, I am 1-3 in picks right now. I know it's week 6 in college football. The first week we didn't even do, and I guess maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. The records are wrong. Either way, I've only won 1 week. I know that for sure. It's just been bad. But we got some interesting games to talk about. And I spilled water on my picks. That's what I was trying to get to. Anyways, all right, let's move on. Florida State running back Mario Pender has been released from the hospital after suffering a collapsed lung in practice last month. Redshirt junior Pender was hospitalized on September 22nd when his lung collapsed after bumping into an offensive lineman during a bye week practice. He was originally expected to be released 2 days after the incident, but the injury required surgery. Head coach Jimbo Fisher said Pender lost 18 pounds during his hospitalization and will miss a few weeks. If he cannot return this season, Florida State could apply for a medical redshirt. This is what Fisher had to say, quote, "He was moving around, talking, in great spirits, and had a good look in his eye. I was very happy to see that," end quote. Pender is second on the Seminoles with 140 rushing yards, and they also have some other injury news with starting running back Dalvin Cook, who has a hamstring injury and is not listed on the Seminoles injury report, but Fisher would not comment on Cook playing Saturday against the Miami U. The U. I'm excited. I hope Miami wins, which is at 7 o'clock Central Time on ABC. Sophomore Cook suffered the injury late in the first quarter against Wake Forest and did not return to the game, but Cook did practice the past 2 days, so he looks to be good to go. I guess they're just trying to keep Miami on its toes, but I'm a little disappointed in Miami right now, not because of losing to Cincinnati and still not firing Al Golden. Apparently, there's been reports for guys that have been watching the Miami practice this week and been around the campus. Sadly, I haven't. Hopefully, I will get the acceptance letter pretty soon. I've applied to Miami, guys. I don't know if I told y'all that. That was about 2 weeks ago when they officially got every single thing they needed. So, I don't know. I'm looking to transfer. I hope Miami can help me out with some financial aid because I don't have $60,000 a year to pay for. But they also have a great program. Anyways, off topic. They were saying this doesn't feel like FSU week. Like it doesn't feel like the hate week. There's not a whole lot of hype. There's not a whole lot of motivation for these players, which really concerns me. Not only is Florida State a little bit more talented than this team, they obviously have a better coach. It worries me that Miami is not feeling the groove that they used to have back in the old days. We all watched the ESPN 30 for 30s of the U, the rival with Florida State, and we all know the rivalry with Florida State. But apparently this week just doesn't have it. Maybe it's a quiet confidence. Maybe it's that. That's the positive side looking at it. Maybe it's quiet confidence that these players, aren't really talking about Florida State. Aren't really having that hate week for them. But if it's not that, which being Al Golden's team, it's most likely not quiet confidence. That concerns me that they're already down, and if they get down 2 score, whether it's 10 points or 14 points to Florida State, I have a feeling it could get out of hand pretty quickly. Now, Brad Kai is very talented, Joseph Yerby, but I'm just afraid that this team could collapse with giving 2-score lead up to Florida State early in the game. And Al Golden is definitely not going to prepare them or motivate them in the second half to get something going. It worries me. So hopefully I'm looking at the best side of it and it's quiet confidence. But if not, this is obviously a big problem for Miami if they can't get something going. And Dalvin Cook, whether he's 80% or 100%, he's still damn near good. So Miami, just be ready. Just be ready, please. Please be ready. A decision has been made that Randy Edsall will not be the head football coach for Maryland next season, and discussions are taking place about how and when to separate, a source said Thursday night, which this is weird. Now, obviously, multiple sources and multiple reports have come out that he will not be the head coach next year. My whole thing is, why would that come out? Like, why would a decision from Maryland say, all right, you know what, we're about to be 6 games in, or 5, depending on your bye week. I don't really know. They're 2-3, so they play 5 games. So you're 5 games in, about to be 6, going against Ohio State. We're already going to tell you that you are not the head football coach next year. I don't care if he was 0-, well, if he's 0-5, he's probably fired by then. But really, if you're going to go ahead and say he's not going to be the head coach, and you're planning on possibly firing him next week after this week with the bye week upcoming, I mean, this is a big game. What if he wins this somehow? Because Ohio State hasn't looked very good. What if he somehow – I mean, Maryland's terrible. I'm not saying they're going to win. But what if something happened and it all went Maryland's way? Then do you feel the same way? Now they're 3-3 heading into a bye week with the biggest upset in college football history probably. Then how do you feel? I don't understand why you would let this go public and say these type of things. If you know you're most likely going to fire him after Saturday's game against Ohio State, why not just fire him straight up then and there and then let everybody know? Why are you going to say he's not going to be the football coach next year? And you're thinking about how and when to separate. I think that's the stupid part on Maryland's management side, because that doesn't make any sense to do it now. Maryland has internally discussed how to manage an in-season coaching change, another source confirmed. And earlier Thursday, Inside MDSports.com reported Edsall is likely to be fired after Saturday's game against the Buckeyes as the Terps enter a bye week again. Excuse me. To me, it's really ridiculous to say it now. I mean, again, they don't have the highest odds to win this game, and I don't expect them to keep it close after getting shut out by Michigan last week 28-0 and really being shut out by almost every team. I just don't think you should have said it now. I think that was very unprofessional, I guess you could say. Not immature, but unprofessional to do it now. Edsall is entering his 5th year in his original 6-year contract that's worth $10 million, so he's almost made it all. He received a 3-year extension in July, but just $500,000 of the $7.5 million extension is guaranteed. Either way, he still got paid very well, and he's going to be all right. The funniest part about all of this whole situation, is that Randy Edsall quoted the great Wiz Khalifa on Thursday in a tweet, basically referring to his job situation. And it was perfect. It was the greatest tweet. It was a perfect quote. Perfect timing on everything. This is what he quoted Wiz Khalifa on. Here we go. Quote, "Worrying is stupid. It's like walking around with an umbrella waiting for it to rain." End quote. And then he put the quotes, he put the dash, and he put Wiz Khalifa on there. Perfect. I love it. I love that. I don't know. It's just, Maryland. An interim candidate to replace Edsall is the program's offensive coordinator, Mike Locksley, who has had previous head coaching experience. The next coach will have to consider, though, once actually taking a job, whether it's Locksley or it's somebody else whenever they decide to hire a brand new coach. They have to consider that Maryland is in the same Big Ten division with Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State. You got to play those 4 teams. I can't count. Those 4 teams every single year. Home and away. Going to be mixed, but still. That is tough. And why Maryland and Rutgers are in the Big Ten shocks me. I mean, these are the 2 worst programs right now in college football, with a whole lot of coaching situations that are just terrible. And they're in the Big Ten. Doesn't make sense to me. One factor that is going in Maryland's way is that they have, just like Oregon is with Nike with Phil Knight, well, they got the financial backing of Under Armour with CEO Kevin Plank, who's a former Terps player. He's also a billionaire and a member of Maryland's board of trustees, and obviously wants the whole program to improve in every sport and everything. To me, it's just, man, you got so much issues right now. But, I mean, I'm not saying it's right to keep Edsall. I mean, he's obviously hasn't done anything for you so far. His total numbers here are 22-33 overall as a head coach. 2-3 this season. He's 10-3 in conference play, posting a 4-18 mark in the ACC and 4-5 in the Big Ten. And obviously last week again, 28-0 loss to Michigan. Best of luck, Maryland. I still hope they pull the upset somehow. I'm not picking them. I don't believe they will win, but oh well. Oh well. Anyways, Myles Jack, former UCLA running back and linebacker, do-it-all player Myles Jack, who suffered a season-ending knee injury, said Thursday he decided to leave UCLA and enter the 2016 NFL Draft because he wants to be compensated for his skills. This is his interview. It's a quick little snippet of what he was when he was on ESPN's Mike and Mike. Pretty good interview, so here you go.
Well, we're well, so just take us through it. At its base form, you get hurt, and I'm sure a lot of thoughts go through your mind. Can you take us through the decision to go immediately start working towards your next career or your first career in the National Football League?
Definitely. So when the injury had taken place, UCLA is on the quarter system, so we actually just started school past week. And pretty much when I injured myself, I couldn't really get around campus for a week. So I was kind of dead that whole week. So I was behind school already a week. Then moving forward with my football career, I just felt like, I felt like I had done enough at UCLA. I felt like I had done it, So I just felt like in regards to my injury, I wanted to have the best training possible and just put myself in the best position to be ready for the combine. So that's pretty much where I was at. I just wanted to make the right decision. It was definitely a tough one because, if it was up to me, I'd be out there playing right now and, none of this would be about. But, I just felt like it was the right decision.
Going into this season, before the injury, so when the season was starting, and certainly your name was up there for the possibility of different All-American awards out there, did you have it made up in your mind after the season, had it been injury-free, that you were still going to apply for the draft?
I was definitely going to weigh my options. I wasn't all the way 100% out. I was focused on the season. I wasn't thinking about this at all. My mindset was helping the Bruins win a national championship. That's where I was at. And, when all this came about and I injured myself, I really had to think about my future moving forward with, either college football or the NFL. So before I wasn't even thinking about it, honestly, I was focused on football.
Yeah, and understandably so. Myles, what reaction have you gotten from your teammates, I guess now former teammates, to your decision?
Definitely. It's been positive from all of them. I seen them yesterday in the locker room after I did my treatment and rehab and everything. And, they were all excited. They were very happy for me. They asked me a bunch of questions and everything, but it's all positive responses. That's been the best part of it all, just my teammates supporting me and just, them being happy for me.
Hey, Myles, it's Mike Smith. On the subject of support, hey, man, on the subject of support, you've already made your decision, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But when's the last time you talked to Coach Mora, and where are you guys? Because I saw where he said you were taking a huge risk by leaving, but then when you commented on it, you mentioned that, he was very supportive to you privately and said he'd, support your decision 100%. So where are you guys, and how taken aback were you when you saw the comments that he was saying you were taking a risk by going pro?
Definitely. When the comments that came out, I was definitely surprised. But as soon as that had came out, I talked to him yesterday afternoon, and we had just basically ironed out any wrinkles or any misunderstandings that we had. So, pretty much he said what he said, but it is what it is. Like, me and him are cool on our part and everything, and we've definitely patched things out if there's any misunderstandings or anything. But no, he reiterated that he supports me 100%, 1,000%, that everything's fine. So it's all good.
So very interesting on Myles Jack, and because there was a lot of misconceptions of what he was doing and whether he was already had decided that after this season he was going into the NFL, which, even though he said that he wasn't thinking about that at all, it does play in your mind. And this was very quickly, and I think later on they were talking about how you could have rehabbed at UCLA. They got a great rehabbing system over there, and you could have got all the treatment. Why not come back, play another year, all that stuff? And he just felt like it was time to move on already. And he does have the numbers to back it up to being in the NFL. It just kind of worries me on how this thing is going with college football and college sports about playing a couple seasons and then you're out. that's another discussion, and I'll probably just make another video on that on YouTube, which you can if I could talk, you can subscribe to me on YouTube, The Short Sports Show. Just type it in, you'll find it right there. Subscribe while you're there, share it and like it with your friends and family. About the college football situation and how college athletics, letting players leave after a few seasons. And again, Myles Jack did very well in his time there. It's a little too soon. I would have liked to see him stay at UCLA one more year, but when you got the time and you got the money and you have potential to make a ton, it obviously weighs in on, you could always go back to school if, you get hurt again in the pros, but a lot of that money is not guaranteed. Depending on where you're selected in the draft and things like that, it's where it becomes a huge problem. But that's later to discuss. But let me know. Tweet me at @short_sports 24/7. Let me know what you guys think on whether players should just be able to enter the NFL draft or NBA draft. Maybe after 1 year of playing college sports. Obviously, that's already happening for the NBA and for baseball. But should that be a thing for the NFL? Should players be eligible to be one and done in college? I don't think so. I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think it should happen. Myles Jack did go on and say, though, when he was asked about if he could have, after last year, gone to the NFL and entered the NFL draft after everything he did, would he have done it because of the speculation and talk with Leonard Fournette? And he said no. He doesn't believe any player should. He believes he likes the 3-year rule that you have to play college football or at least be in college football for 3 years. So you could be a redshirt sophomore or a junior. Either way, it's the same. And then go into the NFL draft. It shouldn't be one and done. Should it be two and done? We'll just have to see. Arizona quarterback Anu Solomon will start against Oregon State on Saturday. Solomon, who suffered a concussion on September 26 against UCLA, did not play in last week's loss at Stanford. And the sophomore did return to practice this week. Also, Memphis Athletic Director Todd Bowen has received a 2-year contract extension. The school announced Bowen's extension Thursday. His contract now runs through at least June 30th of 2019. Bowen was hired as a Memphis Athletic Director in 2012, and during his tenure, Memphis became a charter member of the American Athletic Conference. Memphis football team has won a share of its first conference title in 40 years, guys, 40 years, and went 10-3 with the Miami Beach Bowl victory last year. And before coming to Memphis, Bowen was the San Jose State athletic director from 2004 to 2012, which all of this leads up to our picks and what to watch for. So let's go through them, make a good time here. And obviously, last night's game was Washington, the UW Huskies, taking on USC. And even though I'm a fan of UW and I was rooting for UW, I ended up picking USC. That obviously did not work out for me. You got to go with your heart, guys. You got to go with your heart. This is what picks are all about. If you need to make a decision on something other than sports in your life, this is what you do. You go through some of these games for college football, for NFL, for NBA, for MLB, whatever it may be, whatever your favorite sport is. You go through them. You go through all the top 25 or all the big games, or all games, depending on what it is, and you just go out and just pick them. Don't think about anything. Just pick those games. And you're going to come across a game where it's, my heart says I should pick this school or this team, but my mind is telling me to pick this. Whatever you end up going with, then now transfer it to whatever the obstacle in your life is that you need to make a decision on. And if you went with your heart for that pick of the game, then you go with whatever your heart is saying for that decision and that problem, that situation you got going on. If you went with your mind, go with your mind. Probably not smart on some of the things, but I feel like that, I don't know, I could be a motivational speaker all day, ladies and gentlemen. That's just what I do. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. That is just what I do. No, probably shouldn't do that. Really should think about your decisions, But anyways, I ended up picking USC. Should have picked UW, as UW does get the victory and upsets USC. And USC probably, they're definitely probably out the top 25. UW might make a return. I highly doubt it. But if somehow USC is still in the top 25, they were 17 last night. If they're a top 25 team, then UW should be the same because they have the same record and they just beat USC. Anyways, New Mexico State taking on Ole Miss. Why is that even being played? Ole Miss. LSU at South Carolina, even though it's in LSU. South Carolina, in case you guys don't know, obviously with the flooding, this game has been moved to LSU, to Baton Rouge, but South Carolina does get the home field choices. They're basically still the home team. So South Carolina, after the depending on the coin toss, they elect a receiver, whatever. They get everything. They get as if they're the home team. It's just being played at LSU, which is going to be a problem for South Carolina. It's like as if it couldn't get any worse for your season. You now get to play at LSU when it was supposed to be at your place. And, you're not winning this. I got to talk to my dad about that. I had picked South Carolina. I felt like this was a game LSU was going to lose. They would just drop it because they don't have any quarterbacks. Even though they have Leonard Fournette, and honestly, for this offense right now, that's all you really need. The thing is, if this game was at South Carolina, no flooding, no nothing was going on, I really thought South Carolina could win this. Now, this is this is most likely the worst Steve Spurrier team of all time. But LSU, they always find a way to just drop some weird game. The SEC always has where that one good team is about to make that leap, but then they just drop a random game that they really should have won. I feel like this is a game for LSU to lose had it been at South Carolina. So I'm changing my pick to LSU. I still have a day to do it since today's Friday, at least when this was being recorded. You might be listening on Saturday. I'm picking LSU here just because it's at LSU now. So let me go ahead and change it. LSU. But had it been in South Carolina, I got South Carolina written down on here. Anyways, Baylor at Kansas. I think you guys already know. Let's not even talk about it. Oklahoma taking on Texas and the Red River rivalry that's absolutely dead. It's just dead. It's bad. Remember, was it last year or a couple years ago? Oklahoma was favored more than 2 scores. Texas was bad. Well, they've been bad. And Oklahoma was, solid. They were good. About to make a leap again. And then they just got dominated against Texas. Texas just went out there and said, screw our record. Screw how bad we've been. We're going to be a completely different team for this one game. I don't think that happens. I think Texas has so many problems that it doesn't even become close. Oklahoma gets this victory. Baker Mayfield, I don't like him, but he's doing what he's got to do to get Oklahoma putting points on the board and winning these games. Illinois at Iowa, going with the Iowa Hawkeyes here. Have to. That running back 33, he's good. He's good. Maryland at Ohio State. Obviously, Buckeyes, if you lose this game, they should not be in the playoffs. I don't care if every team loses 2 games the whole year. Every single team loses at least 2 games, and Ohio State just wins. Loses just that one. Ohio State should not be in if they lose to Maryland. That is ridiculous, but that won't happen. Ohio State will get the victory. Kent State at Toledo. Toledo's just that team. They always get in the top 25 some random year. They do good, and then the next year they just go like 4-6. But I believe Toledo will get the win. I don't know too much about Kent State, so going with Toledo. And we got Navy at Notre Dame. Going with Notre Dame here, even though Keenan Reynolds is about to set records for Navy or for college football overall. And it's, I don't know. Notre Dame's got this. Yeah, I can't see them losing back-to-back weeks, especially after a heartbreaker against Clemson. Northwestern at Michigan. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines. It's probably going to be the lowest scoring game of all games, including the NFL. It's just going to be the lowest scoring game, probably like a 6-9, a 13-9, 13-6. I don't know, some random, weird, ugly score. With no offenses, all defense. Defense will probably get all the points. Going with Michigan here. Georgia at Tennessee. I could see Georgia losing this game, but Tennessee's just collapsing after a report that Butch Jones most likely probably hit a player or put his hands on a player. It's just bad for Tennessee. It really is. The Tennessee hype train is just – I was on it. I was on it beginning of the season. I thought Tennessee – and I always root for Tennessee. I just always want them to do good for some random reason. I've never been to Tennessee. I'm not a huge fan of Tennessee. But when it comes to SEC football for Tennessee, I just root for them. I don't know why. But Georgia will get the victory here. Georgia Tech at Clemson. Now, last year, Georgia Tech did beat Clemson. I'm going to go with Clemson here. Georgia Tech is also just falling apart. Arkansas at Alabama, going with Alabama. Oklahoma State at West Virginia, going with West Virginia because it's not only is it in Morgantown, Oklahoma State is the worst 5-0 team right now. They are absolutely garbage. I don't understand how they're still ranked other than them being undefeated. They should be number 25. Toledo is better than Oklahoma State. They are. Going with West Virginia, even though they lost Carl Joseph, which sucks. It really does. Carl Joseph, my favorite defensive player in college football right now and has been for multiple years. The hardest hitter, but has complete coverage skills. It's just amazing the talent he has. And sadly, he's lost for the year. Good for TCU not having to play him, but still, I don't wish that upon him. I mean, I'd rather have him in the game, even that meant possibly losing to West Virginia. With him being in there, because he's that good. He's that difference maker. He could easily change the outcome of a game, and I just think West Virginia still has it. I think they get this W. Boise State at Colorado State. Boise State looks good. They really do. Now they got a quarterback looking like their old days with Kellen Moore. They really do look good, and I think they get the victory, even though Colorado State's pretty talented. TCU at Kansas State. Going with my Frogs, of course. If you're a betting person and you're in Vegas or wherever you're betting, please bet over that TCU will. TCU's a 9-point favorite. Nine freaking points. Are you kidding me? Over Kansas State? I know it's at Kansas State. I know it's a night game. There's no way TCU doesn't win this game by more than 17 points. Take it. Or go against it. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know how betting goes. Whatever the betting is to have TCU win more than 9 points, bet it. Bet it all. Bet it all, baby. Because they're going to win by more than 9 points. I think this is a 56 to 17 type of victory. TCU's found its groove. There's no way they don't put a whole lot of points on the board, and they're not going to give up that much to Kansas State. It's going to be shaky in the first quarter. TCU's got to find out where Kansas State is because their quarterback situation, they might put an offensive lineman at quarterback. We don't know. But this TCU is going to blow this Kansas State team out. It might take it to the second or third, fourth quarter. It's going to happen. Florida at Missouri. Going with Florida here. Miami at Florida State. Going with the U. I can't go against the U. I don't know if I'll be accepted. But I got to root for the U until then. Going for the U. Michigan State at Rutgers. Going with Michigan State. And then finally, the last game, Cal at Utah. And I'm going with Cal. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going with Utah. Utah will win it. They got a better defense than Cal does. Utah is more complete on offense. They can pass the ball. They can run it more effectively than Cal does. Cal's got those quick screens. Jared Goff, I think he gets exploited here. And Utah gets the victory. So there you go for your college football picks. Now let's move on to the NFL. We actually don't have too much on the NFL. We'll talk about last night's game with the Texans and the Colts in just a minute. First, the Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett spoke to defensive end Greg Hardy regarding his comments about returning, quote, guns blazing, and about the wife of New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. Garrett said, quote, We just addressed it immediately. This is not how we want to operate as an organization, end quote. Garrett said Hardy was receptive, respectful, and appreciative the coach's comments. Look, people just need to chill out. Media and other people are just too sensitive. Now, I don't know what he said about the wife of Tom Brady. Hey, whatever, leave that alone. You don't talk about someone like that. But at the same time, he's guns blazing. You're like, Anybody else could have said that. It'd be fine. He said it because of what happened in the past. Then it becomes an issue. It's guys, move on. Unless he truly meant it as a joke because of what happened, then that's kind of screwed up. But if he just, that just came to his head, just saying, hey, I'm going to come out there guns blazing, get ready to attack on, quarterback Tom Brady and the Patriots offense. Leave it alone, guys. Chill out. Everybody needs to chill out. Just relax. I mean, God, people are so sensitive about some things sometimes. But again, if he did mean it in relation to what had happened, then yes, okay, then there's right to say, look, that was stupid, all this other stuff. But if that's just what came out, hey, chill, people, because in all these articles waiting, all these writers have already kept these articles on file, waiting for this game for Greg Hardy to come back, saying, oh, he shouldn't be playing, blah 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 blah. I mean, guys, chill, people. Jay Cutler said Thursday he's not 100%, but is pushing through his hamstring discomfort in light of all the injuries the Bears have suffered this year. Saying, quote, I feel better, I do. I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but it is what it is. And we have a lot of guys banged up out here. I'll just make do, end quote. Cutler had missed 2 weeks before returning to start last week's 22-20 win over the Oakland Raiders. And even though he had originally been expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks with a hamstring, he did pretty well. He was 28 of 43, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a bad interception, though, that led the Bears to their first victory of the year. It was the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders, see, this is why you can't have anything nice, Raiders. The time you are favored to win a game, which is probably the first time in a very, very, very long time, you go out and blow it. This is why you won't be favored in any other game now. Not one other game you are not going to be favored in. Oh, man. But Jay Cutler, yeah, is going to play the Bears. The Bears. I don't know what to say other than there's always next year. I don't. You can get Fuller's younger brother in the draft, a couple rounds. I don't know. This is another questionable thing. The Miami Dolphins, they fired defensive coordinator Kevin Coyle on Thursday after 4 seasons with the team and promoted defensive backs coach Lou Arnano to take his place. Here's my thing. Why did you wait a few days after you just fired the head coach? Why not? Because this was already talked about. They should just fire the defensive coordinator first. Why not do it at the same time? Like, who else is next? Is the water boy next? Are you going to fire him? I don't know. Dolphins, you're all screwed up right now. Coyle entered this year on thin ice after Miami's defense collapsed in the second half of last season. And despite the addition of the Pro Bowl defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh, the Dolphins' defense continued to flounder in the first 4 games, which obviously, that cost him his job. Miami's defense, rightfully so, Miami's defense is ranked 30th in the NFL in total yards allowed and last in run defense, absolutely last. The Dolphins have allowed over 160.5 rushing yards per game, and obviously a major factor in Miami's 1-3 start this season. And people are saying, oh, it's Ndamukong Suh. He's not doing his part. He's not doing his job. So should we blame Suh? Absolutely 100% not. No. You don't blame Ndamukong Suh. You don't. And you're probably saying to yourself, oh, you're stupid. Well, he hasn't done anything. Well, that's when you just get reversed and you look at the facts, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at it, and someone else brought this up on NFL Sirius Radio yesterday when I was on my way to work, I heard it. And he pointed it out. At first, I would have blamed Suh too for not knowing. But Ndamukong Suh is doing his thing. He's not a numbers person. If you look at his stats from this season in the first 4 games and last season in his first 4 games, he has the identical stats, the exact same stats. Nothing's changed. 9 tackles, That is it. It's the exact same as last season when he was with the Detroit Lions. Now, that doesn't mean that, because the next thing is, well, he's paid all this money. He should be playing better. He's playing the same. He's playing hard. He's doing the exact same stuff he did in Detroit. It's Miami's fault for paying him all that money. That is ridiculous to pay someone. I mean, did they not learn from Albert Hainsworth? $100 million to Albert Hainsworth, and where is he now? That's Miami's fault for paying all that money and setting the expectations that he was going to do more. He's doing his part. Sue is doing his thing. Could he play better? Well, that's kind of questionable because he's doing the exact same thing he did in Detroit last season. So when you want to go and blame Sue, you might want to blame Cameron Wake. You might want to blame the outside linebackers. You might want to blame the DBs. Might even want to blame Kevin Coyle. Because, and the locker room. And the fans. Because it is not just on Sue. Yes, he was paid all that money. Sue took it. He saw who was going to pay him more, and that's where he was going to go. He's doing the exact same thing he did in Detroit. He's playing his game. It's Miami that's not doing its thing. It's the defense that's not doing its thing. So don't go and blame Ndamukong Suh. Now, I'm not here to defend him. What he did with Ryan Fitzpatrick with the helmet, even though it was inadvertent by the NFL. That's what they said. I'm just saying. Ndamukong Suh, you don't go and blame him. If you're going to blame him for the defensive struggles, you don't know football. Texans quarterback Ryan Mallett stood before reporters with his lips pursed and trying to avoid scowling. At least that's what one reporter said on ESPN. He had started Thursday night against the Indianapolis Colts, but left in the game after having the wind knocked out of him in the second quarter. Mallett came out completing 7 of 10 passes and throwing 1 interception. But before people, in case you didn't watch the game, before you go and attack, Ryan Mallett did the same thing. Threw an interception, no touchdowns, not a whole lot of stuff. With a passer rating of 41.7, he did bad. No, he really should have been 8 of 10. And possibly even more with a touchdown. I don't know which running back it was. I don't know if it was Blue or Foster or Polk. But the interception came on a pass that should have been caught by the running back. It was clearly in his hands. He had to reach a little bit, but it was his normal reach. He didn't have to jump for it. It was right at him, honestly. I don't think he even had to reach. It was perfect pass. Running back tips it up, has butterfingers, can't catch it. It's tipped up to the safety who intercepts it. Not Ryan Mallett's fault. Wasn't a bad read. He did a good job. Then Hoyer comes in, and he does his thing. 24 of 31, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a terrible, 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 terrible. Did I say terrible? Terrible interception. 90% of this audience probably, 100% of this audience would have not have made that interception. Whether A, it would have been, couldn't be thrown that far, or 2, you would have just kept it and got sacked. I would have kept it and got sacked. Mainly because I would have saw that defender. Brian Hoyer lost the Texans the game. With less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Texans are driving. They're going down the field. Dustin Hopkins is doing his thing. They are getting first downs. They're moving down the field. And Hoyer keeps it in the pocket. And instead of just taking the sack or throwing the ball, to the lineman's feet, to somebody that's close, to the freaking sidelines at least, he throws it up in the air. Just hoping, because at the halftime, he got that Hail Mary to Jalen Strong, which I'm telling you, Jalen Strong is going to break out at one point. He just needs a quarterback. Hoyer just tosses it up for some stupid reason with a defender coming on the right side, defender coming on the left side. He's about to get smashed. And instead of just holding on to it, and then spiking the ball if need be, or just throwing it to the sidelines, he just chunks it up. giving it so much. It looked like a baseball hit, a weak baseball hit, a pop-up to second base. That's how bad it was. It goes straight up, and it just drops right to the safety. The safety literally stood there. No one else is around him, and catches it, almost kneeling, or he might have kneeled. And it was like baseball. I mean, it was just like it just popped up to second base, and you catch it and out the inning. It was terrible. I mean, even head coach Bill O'Brien yelled, and there's a GIF going around everywhere saying, "Why did you throw that?" It was so bad. It was a typical Brian Hoyer thing to do. Texans, this is my advice to the Houston Texans. Trade for Johnny Football. I know Brian Hoyer isn't going to like it. You can't trade Hoyer back to Cleveland. I mean, I guess you could. You might be able to. He wanted to stay. He just didn't want to stay with Manziel. Or trade Mallett. Trade both. I don't care. You need a different quarterback. Hoyer can't do the job. He shows the potential, and then he shows the true colors of costing the game and screwing the game and can't win a game. Mallett, he just can't put it together. I don't know why. He has the talent. He has the arm. He has no accuracy, though, and he can't put it together. I'm not a Texans fan, but I think if the Texans want to win, you trade for Johnny Football. You get the fans back involved. Everybody's excited to have him back in Texas. And he does his thing. You have talented receivers. Dustin Hopkins, very good. Jalen Strong, very good if he can get his opportunities. You got weapons. Arian Foster, I mean, he needs all the help he can get because he cannot stay healthy for whatsoever. I mean, you might want to trade him too. You could trade him to Cleveland. Maybe even get a second or third round pick off of him. Maybe fourth. Trade him and Hoyer or him and Mallett. Or just Arian Foster, that's it. Because I don't want to keep Foster. He's not worth any money. He's terrible. I know he had that big run where he shoved two defenders off of him, but I don't know if it was before or after he hurt his hamstring again. It's just a matter of time before he gets hurt again. Trade for Johnny Football. Get a quarterback now. Work with him. Have Bill O'Brien work with Johnny Football. That would be exciting to see what he could do with him. And Manziel's already shown his steps. Do that. Then you're better off. And then you could just get a running back in the draft. I mean, there's some okay-ish ones out there. There's not really any great running backs coming out of this draft this year. And you can always just not draft a running back. Start Alfred Brew for the next year or two, and then try to trade your way up. Predict who's going to have the top pick in the draft in 2 years from now, and draft Leonard Fournette in 2017. Leonard Fournette and Johnny Football. Woo! I'm telling you, Texans fans are already getting excited. Yep. I don't know. That's what I think. I think Johnny Football should be with the Texans because the quarterback situation in Houston is not going to get any better. And if you keep working with these two guys, expect to go 2-14, 3-13, possibly, or just 1-15. Get your only win. That's all right. Let's wrap up the show. NFL picks right here. Seahawks and this is all off the top of the dome. I didn't write it down. Just ran out of time. We're just gonna do this together, guys. Seahawks at the Bengals. I'm going with the Bengals here, even though the Seahawks. It's gonna be the best game of the week, along with the Patriots and the Cowboys. These two games are gonna be the best of the week. They really are. I'm gonna go with the Bengals here, and it's gonna be a low-scoring game. I'm saying a 17-13 type of game. I just think the Bengals have a much better offense than the Seahawks do, even though the Seahawks have a much better defense than the Bengals do. I just think some touchdowns are going to be given up, but I think Bengals get the victory. Patriots at the Cowboys, going with the Patriots here. And the Bears at the Kansas City Chiefs, going with the Kansas City Chiefs here. Redskins at the Falcons. Poor Redskins. I think this is going to be a big game for the Falcons and Julio Jones once again. Even though they're favored by 7 points, that's it. I think it should be a little bit more. I'm say like a 13-point favorite. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buccaneers. This is a tough game because they both really suck. But I'm going to go Tampa Bay and Jameis Winston. Saints at the Eagles, going with the Saints here. I think they got it together. I think they start getting on the roll here, even though it's on the road. I think they might have found something with Drew Brees, kind of getting his motivation back. Everybody's upbeat. Saints fans are. And Eagles are just collapsing. Browns at the Ravens, going with the Ravens, unless Johnny Football plays. If Johnny Football comes in this game, I don't care if they're down by 4 touchdowns. I switch my pick to Cleveland. If he doesn't, I'm sticking with Baltimore. Sticking with Baltimore. Rams at the Packers. That's stupid to say that with 4 touchdowns. But going with the Ravens. Rams at the Packers. Somehow Green Bay's a 9-point favorite. Did they not watch what the Rams did to Arizona? It was a great team as well. I'm going with the Packers, but it's going to be less than 5-point differential. Bills at the Titans, going with the Bills. Cardinals at the Lions, going with the Cardinals. Lions 0-5. That would be bad. Woo! Memories, 2008. Broncos at the Raiders, going with the Broncos. Hopefully the Raiders win, though, because we need the Broncos to start losing some games. 49ers at the Giants, going with the Giants. And Monday night, Steelers at the San Diego Superchargers. Sadly, they won't be too super. Pittsburgh, it's going to be a shootout. This game will be a shootout. Both defenses suck. But it all comes down to who has the best offensive weapons. And even though we have a great quarterback in Phillip Rivers, we don't have a running back. Melvin Gordon he's all right, but not truly all the way there for us where we need him. And even though we get Antonio Gates back, Steelers get Martavis Bryant. Michael Vick has an entire full week under his belt, a week and a half really. They played on Thursday. They get some extra days of rest. Going with the Steelers there, even though I want my Chargers to win very badly. That is it for today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends and family, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, and whatever else you might be listening to. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, share it again. I'm repeating myself. I will see you guys next Monday morning. As always, God first, God bless. I'm out. Peace.